In my opinion, the most important thing when you're doing a regenerative market gardening is that you have to know that per hectare you need 20 tons of organic matter. Because without that you're not regenerative. You might be sustainable, but most likely degenerative. Well, quite essentially, when we started Terramay, we knew that we had to build a market garden in a high top because we had the pre-existences, and that's where we're going to build up our hotel. So you never do your garden in the top of a hill. It has some advantages, like everything in life, but it's not the most common place to do it. And we had no soil at all at Terramay. So the first thing we did, because we wanted to have the garden close to the hotel, so it's the zone 0 and 1 from permaculture, we started to work with raised beds, and we got soil from many different places from the property, different kinds of soils, also to experiment with it. And the first year we could only work on raised beds because we really had no soil. So we don't have profile A, B, and C, it's just mother rock. And where we are right now, this is the result of 5 years of work, where we deliver 85 tons of vegetables per year to some of the best gardens in Portugal. We are a micro-seasonal market garden concept. We don't have winter houses, so we produce everything from the seed to the final plant. The plants are always exposed to the natural conditions of the weather, so we don't make that compromise. And we like to do something we call a polyculture within the polyculture. So be it a raised bed or now these lines that we are seeing right here, right now, we always have different cultures in the same line or next to one another. So after 5 years, we have a lot of consociations that we know that will work, that will proliferate, but also will change or give some very positive nuance in taste and texture to some of the vegetables that we are selling to the best restaurants in Portugal. So our clients are mostly Michelin-starred restaurants that can search for the best produce and have the high-skilled hands to transform it into a moment of pure magic. So that's why we can also get some of our investment back, because the price of our market gardening, it's very high. So we cannot compete with the normal industrial production companies.
Yeah. To achieve this level of quality in your vegetables, you need very good soil.
Yes, definitely.
Could you talk us through the process of going from no soil to a really healthy soil with a vibrant microbial community in the soil that is nourishing your vegetables and producing such a high quality of food?
Well, you always have to take it holistically. You have to do many things to achieve that objective. But in the end, of course, the more exposed the plant is and the better the soil the plant is living in, the most dense minerally the plant will be. And I do believe that if we think of plants and the soil microbiome and the human microbiota, it's everything almost the same. So when you think that the plant is more tasteful or the aroma is stronger, that means that your bacteria within your intestine, in your gut, are just calling and craving for it. So everything walks together. In my opinion, the most important thing when you're doing a regenerative market gardening is that you have to know that per hectare you need 20 tons of organic matter. And that's when you start working. You have to find a way to produce within your collective effort, holistic effort, a way to produce this amount of organic matter. Because without that, you're not regenerative. You might be sustainable, but most likely degenerative. Because every market gardening, it's a super intensive community of plants growing and land that is being used. So that is a little bit the most difficult part, to produce the organic matter and to know how to be regenerative. There are many techniques. I think Terramay, we are not pioneers on anything besides the will and the responsibility of building up 20 tons of organic matter that will keep our soils healthy. So that's our main focus, not to lose that track, because we don't buy anything on the outside. So all of these beautiful bags of black turf that some of our friends are using, while saying they're doing regenerative market gardening, we don't do that. We do the real thing.
When you say producing 20 tons of organic matter per hectare, you mean, what do you mean exactly?
So if you have 1 hectare of a market garden, at least in our experience here, and I think it adapts to many others as well, mostly in the south of Europe, where we have much bigger temperature amplitudes, a lot of agents that are washing away the soils and most of the nutrients that we could keep on them. That has to be your focus, because every time you take a product out of a line, you have to let it rest, you have to feed the line back again, you have to cover it, give it time, 3 to 6 months without doing photosynthesis, so that you'll have so much grasses growing afterwards when you're replanting and reproducing. So in our case, what that means is that we have to use our chicken, our pigs, our cows, our horses, and everything that we're not using at our restaurants and other production units, so that we can rebring it to our market garden.
Okay, so what you're saying is that instead of bringing bags of compost from outside of the farm, you work within the farm to find nutrients.
Yes.
That you need to feed the soil in your market garden. Because obviously every time you harvest a vegetable and you take it out of the farm, you're taking nutrients out.
Exactly.
So that's what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
But so it only works because you have other operations on the farm.
Yes, imagine if you're developing a 1 hectare market gardening and you're just using that hectare, it's going to be impossible. Of course, you need somebody bringing that input to you. Of course, you can have partnerships and everything. But at Terramay, we do our chicken express compost, which is something that happens between 45 and 60 days that we can input in the garden again. We have 16 horses that are roaming freely, but we always have 2 in a box so that we can collect the organic matter they're bringing us, their presence. The same happens with our 80 mother cows and the rest of the whole bovines we have and animals. And we also do other things like terra preta. We have a vermicomposter. We do bazillions of compost. So it's a whole integrative way of looking at it, knowing that if you take out, you have to give back. And at Terramay, that's what makes us a little bit different than all of the other regenerative farms. We're not just producing one thing regeneratively, we're doing it holistically. So we produce the vegetables, the animals, we have the restaurants, so in all of this circular not just economy, but organization gives us the potential to do that, which is very complicated because 20 tons of organic matter are really a lot. You cannot underestimate it.
Just a quick pause to tell you about the official partner of the Deep Seed podcast, and that's Soil Capital. Soil Capital is a company that accelerates the transition to regenerative agriculture by financially rewarding farmers who improve the health of their soils.
And so would you say that it's almost impossible to be truly regenerative if you don't have a diversified operation that allows you to feed each other? You know, the fact that you have animals to bring in the nutrients here, that you have this to feed the restaurant, that the restaurant scraps then feed your animals. That's just one example of all of the things you're doing here.
Well, I wouldn't be fundamentalist because that fundamentalism and absolutism doesn't bring us anything in any topic. Nevertheless, in our operation, that is a reality. If I would be a farmer in Holland with 1 hectare, just like I said, of course, I would have some friends that I trust doing different kinds of job that would bring that input. Or my choice would be to buy it from an organic turf production, industrial production unit. I don't know, there's many options. But of course, if it's integrative, it's much more interesting because you have the fully control of what you're doing. Nevertheless, we are very privileged to have 500 hectares and a diversified production unit, and of course also the investment that allows us to be a lab and to develop these over the years to achieve those objectives. If I would be depending on my market gardening to be profitable within a year, I would have to approach it in a different kind of way.